Hello, hello, hello. Put a plus sign in the chat if you can hear me. Thank you so very much for joining. Thank you for taking your time to explore how you can bring a lot of value, bring a lot of growth to your clients in mentorship, consulting, coaching, and create long-term high-ticket relationships with your clients. My name is Eugene, and I've been helping startup founders, entrepreneurs, business owners to grow their businesses for the last almost 15 years, since even earlier than 2010. I worked with 1,000 companies and over 1,000 companies, and there's a greater than zero conversion from these companies to a unicorn. I want this conversion to be higher. If you're building a unicorn, drop me a note. But still it's greater than zero. And for many years, since 2016, I'm teaching my methodology for business growth to mentors, consultants, coaches, and we call those people trackers. Trackers who help entrepreneurs grow their businesses. For the last 2 days, we've been talking about creating those high-ticket, long-term relationships and bringing entrepreneurs to great results, and about how this requires you to work with the founder or the CEO on the whole business, not on a small part of it where you are an expert, but on the business as a whole. And the main process here is to find the main bottleneck in the business, focus on it, and quickly test hypotheses on how to overcome this limitation, this bottleneck. Because every business at every moment in time has exactly one main limitation on its way to growth. And to grow, you need to focus on this main limitation, quickly test hypotheses to overcome it, and then move to the next limitation, and the next, and the next. And that's how the business grows. And for that, we have our growth tracking framework. It's quite simple. You have your goals, the company goals, long-term goals. You find this main constraint, main limitation on the way to those goals. You create hypotheses, not just any hypotheses, but those focused on overcoming this main limitation. And then you run weekly sprints with tasks aimed at testing those hypotheses. This way, the team, the founder, the entrepreneur is focused on overcoming this main limitation, and this means they are focused on growing their business. And the tracker is the person who actually helps the entrepreneur, helps the client do this work, helps them identify goals, find limitations, focus on the main limitation, come up with hypotheses and a weekly sprint. Then the team, the founder, goes for the week to work on those tasks on this weekly sprint, and a week later they come back to the tracker, and together they review the results of the sprint, and they identify if the main limitation has shifted to somewhere else because they did overcome this limitation, or if they had a deeper limitation that didn't allow them to overcome this one. Anyway, they review and refine the diagnostics, find the main limitation, and repeat this over and over and over again. Next week and the next week and so on. And yesterday we have been talking about the 4 main ways you can use to find this main constraint. First of all, first main approach to this is to stretch the company, make it run much faster than it is able to run, make it run to very ambitious big goals. And when the company starts running to those ambitious big goals, something breaks. This is the weakest link in the chain. This is the main constraint, and you focus on this thing that breaks, you fix it and stretch even more, make the company run even faster, and repeat this over and over again. That's the first way. Second one is to find where the unfinished work accumulates, because the place in the business processes or in the sales funnel where unfinished tasks, unfinished work, unfinished deals accumulate is the main constraint. Most often you find that in the sales funnel, the stage in the sales funnel where there's a lot of deals stuck and not going through to the next stage is the problematic stage. You focus on it, you find a way to fix this problematic stage, you push the deal through to the next stage, and the funnel begins to work much more efficiently, and the business grows as a result of that. The third way to find the main constraint is to find the root cause of different problems in the business. When you find the root cause, you eliminate it, you fix it, and this affects different areas of the business, unlocking new possibilities, unlocking resources, and therefore the business grows. And the fourth way is when for this type and stage of the business, you have a step-by-step strategy applicable to this business. You can apply it to this business and find where, on which step, the current state of the business is. This will be the main constraint. And for early stage startups, for early stage products, we have a typical strategy and a tool to implement this strategy. We call it the traction map, the way from an idea to a scalable business. Those are the four main ways to find the main constraint. And one last thing that we also discussed yesterday to keep your mind with here is that in finding the constraint, in overcoming this constraint, in your work as a mentor, tracker, coach, consultant, advice doesn't work. If you try to tell the founder what to do, it will work if this advice is easy to follow. But when the advice you give to them requires them to get out of their comfort zone, they won't do it, because this advice becomes just your opinion. And opinion versus opinion doesn't work in your favor. If they have an opinion and you have a different opinion, they will follow their own opinion in most cases, if that requires them to get out of their comfort zone. So the main constraint is always somewhere they don't look, they don't want to look, they don't want to work. Overcoming the main constraint usually requires them to get out of their comfort zone, and because of that, you cannot advise them on finding and overcoming this main constraint. You have to talk to them using questions. You need to build sequences of questions that help the client come to the conclusion, come to the decision by themselves, figure it out by themselves, and build a strategy that they believe in and they will actually be executing. And that's how they get to their big goals. Tracking is used by entrepreneurs, top managers, in working with their own business, the whole business, or with specific teams, product teams, departments within the business to help them grow. And also entrepreneurs often use tracking, often work as trackers, mentors, coaches with other entrepreneurs to look how other people are doing their businesses and learn from them. Learn from other people's mistakes and get paid for it. Consultants, mentors, coaches use tracking as an additional product in their pipeline, product line, or as a way to provide more value to their customers, to their clients in their existing coaching or consulting business, to bring them bigger results and to earn more with their practice. VCs, investors, angels, accelerators, venture studios, they use tracking, first of all, as a way to improve their deal flow, to get better deals, to better select great companies, and then to grow the companies they already have in their portfolio, therefore growing their portfolio valuation. Corporations use growth tracking firstly as a tool for building their corporate accelerators, and then in their innovation departments, in their transformation teams, and sometimes in their regular management. And some people act in several of those roles at once. Here's Vladimir. He was a student in growth tracking school last year, I think, and he is both an entrepreneur and a consultant. When he entered growth tracking school as a student, he quickly realized that his then current business will not meet his personal goals, is not able to meet his personal goals. And this resulted in him closing this business very quickly in a few weeks during the course and returning to consulting because he already had a consulting experience. But his consulting experience was as an employee in a consulting firm, but this time he returned to consulting as an independent consultant. And after building his practice, growing his practice, and meeting his financial needs, he then returned to entrepreneurship and launched 2 new businesses, but this time not as a full-time CEO, but rather as an investor and a tracker, working with the teams he hired and helping those teams grow their businesses.
Hi folks, my name is Vladimir Polkovnikov. I'm business tracker, entrepreneur. So when I first knew about growth tracking school, I was an entrepreneur with a not so successful business model. So I had not sufficient income from my business, and I was in search of opportunities and how to build my future. And at that moment, I first noticed the webinars that Eugene made with the growth tracking school. So I joined, and during the training process, I understood that my business is not valuable, and I should not try to save it, because basically the first and the main element of the methodology and growth tracking methodology is the understanding of value. So if you understand the value, you understand how to sell it and how to scale it. So I understood that my business don't have sufficient value, and I can either invest more money and more efforts into building that value, either stop it. So I believe that first results of my study in the growth tracking school was that I consciously made a decision to stop my business, because I didn't have enough resources to build necessary value in it. Before I became entrepreneur, I was a management consultant. So I've been working in one of biggest project management consultancy companies. And before Growth Tracking School, I've been thinking that consultancy only matters when you have large investments and large scale projects. But here I understood that even small and medium-sized businesses can benefit from it. And this gives me a lot of passion about it, a lot of passion and energy to work with it. So I decided to focus on my consultancy practice, consultancy in education, and even during the study. So I think on the second month of studying a growth tracking school, I already had my first 2 clients, and then my practice scaled more and more. So now I'm earning about $10K dollars per month, spending time with my wife and daughter. So it's I believe this is a great result, and I can see how this practice creates value for my clients. So this makes me passionate about it. So, for instance, I have a client who managed to grow from 10K in dollars to 100K, like 10 times in 3 months when we were working. Nowadays, I'm back into my entrepreneurship track. So I've launched 2 businesses, 2 products, and those products I can manage them because I assembled the teams for both of them, and I work as a like tracking leader. So I'm doing the tracking for the team and helping them to make some decision, sometimes as the owner, but giving them authority to move forward. But mostly my role was to initiate that business, to assemble the team, and now I can invest my time in tracking those teams and receiving benefits from it.
To create those results for the teams, for the businesses you work with, you have to first sell them this work. And when I talk about selling growth tracking, I don't just mean selling it for money. Yes, if you're a consultant, you have to sell your services, but if you are an entrepreneur and work with the teams in your own business, you still need them to engage with you in this work. You still need their engagement, and this means to sell to them. If you're an investor, you still need to make those deals so that they take your investment, and then you still need their engagement to work with you on growing this business, and this is also a sale. So you have to sell your service, your tracking practice, tracking work to the entrepreneurs. We sell growth tracking on the diagnostic session. This is the first meeting with the client or the team, where you first bring them value and then make an offer. If you want more of this value, here's how we can work for longer time, every week. There's the process and so on. This diagnostic session, the first meeting with the client, consists of 2 main cycles. First, diagnostic cycle, the second, planning cycle. The first one, diagnostic cycle, is where we identify problems in the business and compare them to the goals this business has, or the founder has, the client has, so that we can form a strategic gap, understanding by the client, the founder, the entrepreneur, that with these problems they would not be able to achieve those goals. And when they understand it, when they have this understanding that with these problems they won't be able to achieve the goals, we move on to the second cycle, planning, where we create the action plan. How to overcome those problems and actually get to those goals. And the result of this process, where it's also both of those processes are iterative, because you adjust the goals, you review the problems, you adjust the steps in the action plan, in the strategy, and repeat this over and over again. But the result of that, when they create this action plan to get to their goals and the action plan they believe in, during this process, you will help them figure out the methodologies, tools to use at each stage of this strategy. And they will form a request for help to you, to help you, for example, in implementing those methodologies. Here we'll have to do customer interviews, and I will teach you how to do customer interviews. Here we'll have to build the sales process, and I will help you build this sales process. If this is the strategy they believe in, you are already a part of this strategy. And that's how you sell. That's how you sell your service to the client. This diagnostic process, the first part of it, the diagnostics part, the diagnostic cycle, consists of modules, several modules where you diagnose different parts, different areas of the business. Here are the standard, most typical modules needed for just about any business. You have to diagnose the product, its value, most important thing for early stage startup, and the delivery of this value. Do they actually deliver the value their customers are expecting? Segmentation, marketing and sales channels, sales process, unit economics. Do they earn more than they spend on each client? Financial constraints. And then, if you have expertise in something else, or the situation in the business calls for exploring other parts of the business, you can add other modules here and explore different parts of the business, figuring out the problems in those standard here on the slide and different parts of it. And the first one, especially for early stage startups, is of course the product value. Do they understand what the value is, or they just build the product? Sell first, build later. If you are working with early stage startup founders, you probably have a collection of different ways in which startup founders tell you how it's not possible to sell if they don't have a product. And therefore you have a collection of the ways you can persuade them to go talk to the customer instead of building the product. And that's a very big part of the early stage founder journey. One of the tools you can use there is this value proposition formula. Very simple one. We, the company X, help clients of type Y in the situation Z, solve the problem P using the technology S, and get the value of V. If you show this formula to the client, to the founder, and ask them to fill in the variables, it would be very easy for them usually to fill the X, the name of the company. They will, in most cases, easily fill the value of S, solution, their technology, what do they do. But when it comes to the problem, for example, it will be a little bit not that easy for them, because in most cases, what founders start to tell you at this stage would be something they do, the process they help with, the activity they help with, or something else not even close to a problem. And here we have several questions you can use to show the founder, to help the founder understand that what they call a problem isn't really a problem that their clients want to solve. And the first one is always the question of damage. Does the client suffer some damage? Because if there's no damage, it's not a problem. This damage would rather be measurable, and if it's measurable in money, the easiest way, the easiest situation, then it becomes easier to sell because the client is losing money. Here's the solution to this. Next one is what happens if this problem is not fixed. And sometimes you just cannot apply this question to the formula, to the expression of the problem they give to you, and this means that it's not a problem, or there's nothing happens if they don't fix the problem, then it's not a problem. How much longer can the client stand this problem? If it's there's no deadline, or if the deadline was yesterday, the worst had already happened and there's no problem. Whose problem is that? If the person paying for the solution and the person who really has the problem are different persons, different people, then you would probably want to look if the one paying actually has the reason to pay, has their own version of this problem, their own view of this problem. And what have you tried to change this? If they didn't try to solve the problem, then it's probably not that big of a problem for them. Then you go to the sales process. How exactly do they sell? If they sell from a landing page from within the software product, you go through the screens, landing pages, whatever you look, how do they communicate the value in those pages or screens. You look at where the conversion drops, and you can find the bottleneck in this sales funnel. If they sell personally, people talking to people to sell to them, then you review the funnel stages. You look how the sequence of funnel stages is right. We have a framework for that. Once again, where the conversion drops or where the deals accumulate. And one important thing, are they asking questions? Or are they trying to push the client, the customer, into buying something they don't really need? And for that, to identify that, because asking questions usually works much better than pushing the founder to buy something they don't need, to buy the snake oil. To diagnose that, you have to dig down into specific clients. What is the problem you, the founder, are trying to solve for this particular client, for this particular customer? When you start discussing specific customers, that's when the truth comes up. That's when you really see what's going on in the business. How do they sell? What questions do they ask? What they know or don't know about their customers? And that's where you can really diagnose the problems in the sales funnel, in the sales process. Then you can go to sales, marketing and sales channels to diagnose, to review what's going on in those channels and to review the unit economics. First of all, what channels do they start with? If it's an early stage startup, it's probably not a good idea to start advertising during the Super Bowl on the TV. They better start with simpler, smaller channels with more feedback. And then the unit economics, is unit economics profitable or not profitable, and what metric should they focus on in order to improve the unit economics. And then as you since you already know something about their acquisition channels and metrics in those channels, you can estimate the market size that they can actually reach. The revenue they can actually achieve in those channels with the metrics they have right now, or with the metrics that are achievable for them. When you as you diagnose the goals, the problems in different areas of the business, you have those bottlenecks, limitations, constraints. You can review them with the founder, and you can move on to talking about goals. Founders' personal goals. Why do they work on this business? What do they want to do with this business? The company's long-term goals that support founders' goals. The short-term goals that support those long-term goals. And by goal here, I mean overcoming the main limitation on the way to the next goal. So that a month goal is to overcome the main limitation on the way to the 3-month goal. 3-month goal, the main limitation on the way to year's goal. 1 year goal, to overcome the main limitation on the way to 3 or 5 years goal, and so on. And this creates a structure of goals that are or have to be consistent with the limitation, the constraints you found in during diagnosing, when you were diagnosing the areas in the business, and this is the way to create the strategy. But first, they have to realize the problem. They have some goals. If those goals are not too ambitious, that's where you actually do this stretching. You stretch their ambitions, stretch the goals, stretch the company so that it starts to run faster, and we uncover more problems. We uncover the real problems that don't allow it to grow faster. You identify the main constraint, and you form this strategic gap. Without fixing this main constraint, main problem, it's not possible to achieve this big strategic goal, ambitious strategic goal. And at that point, it is very easy for you to start explaining them what to do, to start telling them how to overcome all of those problems, how to get to the ambitious goals they have set for themselves and for their company. This won't work. The only thing you can do at this stage, at this moment, is to ask them one question. And the question is, what are you going to do about it? This creates a chance for the founder to take back the responsibility for their business and to start building their own strategy they will believe in and they will be able to execute. A strategy executing which they will do this extra effort that is always needed to get to big ambitious results. Because without this extra effort, they will stop a little bit earlier. They need to believe in this strategy. This should be their own strategy. And so the result, the outcome of this diagnostic session is ambitious goals, main constraint, hypotheses, and sprint, the strategy to achieve this big goal that the founder believes in, and the methods, tools that are needed to overcome the constraints, to go through stages in this strategy, and the request to you for your help in implementing those methods and executing this strategy. And that's how you sell. The methods here, the methods, tools, frameworks, mostly concern product marketing and sales, value propositions, segmentation, customer interviews, traction map, unit economics, sales, and the management part, this growth tracking framework, traction meetings, management process, communication during this work, and how the responsibility is distributed in the team. And then come different other parts like production, be it software development, technological R&D, manufacturing, logistics, or anything else, and support functions like finance, HR, and IT. When it comes to product marketing, sales, and management, we have the frameworks to use to identify, diagnose, and overcome those limitations. And we as trackers go deeper, go into those areas, into the problems, apply frameworks, and help them overcome those problems. When it comes to production and support functions, unless you have specific experience in this area, expertise in this area, we usually don't go there. We identify issues and call for experts. In product marketing and sales, of course, if there's a complex problem that needs specific expertise, we also may call for an expert so that the expert helps the team overcome the problem and we move on to the next problem. Here's a very simplified, quick diagnostic canvas that would help you go through this process. It's a very, very much simplified version of the big diagnostic process that we use and teach in the growth tracking school. This one is the one we teach in the growth tracking school is like 14 pages long with lots and lots of questions and explanations. This one is shorter, simpler. You go through goals, key problems in different areas of the business. You form the strategy and the first steps in this strategy, main constraint, hypotheses, and sprint. And those elements help you to form the offer to sell your services. Here's a link. If you are in the Zoom call, you probably already have access to the area where we put recordings and additional materials for this masterclass. This template is also downloadable from there. If you watch us on LinkedIn, you probably haven't registered there, so you can click on this link and register for the masterclass, and you will get access to this page instantly, and there will be this canvas, this quick diagnostic canvas as well. When you start doing this work, when you start working with the entrepreneurs as mentor, you have several options, several ways to go with this career. I've been talking to a lady who runs an accelerator in India, and I asked her about her mentors. Which mentors are better for her startups in the accelerator? And she told me that there are two kinds of mentors. First kind is people who are flirting with mentorship. They do it mostly for fun or for a little bit for networking, for some experiences, but they don't do it seriously. And the second part is people who take it seriously, for whom it's their main job, or at least a big part of their job. And of course, startup founders get the most value out of those mentors who take it seriously, for whom it is their main job as consultants or something, some big part of what they do. And so when you start this career with helping startup founders, at some time you may decide that you don't want to trade your time just for fun, and you are taking this seriously, and this becomes some sort of consulting practice where you trade your time for money and not for fun. Many people just don't go there. They get a job or focus on their job or their existing or new business, and they don't take this route. But if you start doing this as a consulting practice, then you would want to start scaling. And your consulting practice, where you trade your time for money, is not an easy thing to scale, because first of all, there's limited amount of hours you can sell. First you fill your calendar, then you run out of free hours, and you have to start increasing your rates. But there's a limit to that as well. Not many of us can easily sell a lot of our consulting at rates above $1,000 or $2,000 or, well, a few $1,000s per hour. Selling at $10 or $50 or $100 per hour is, well, not many people know how to do that. And when you hit this limitation, when you hit this ceiling, you have two ways to go from there. First is when you start building an agency and scale by the number of hours you sell, but those won't be your hours, those will be hours of your employees. The problem there is that an agency is a very specific operational business where you will be working on the operations, on building the business processes in the agency, and not on growing your clients' businesses. This will take all your time as you work on the operations. So the alternative strategy here is to stop trading time for money and start trading time for equity. And that's what many mentors do, sometimes, in most cases, both time, money and equity. And this creates a portfolio where you get equity for consulting, and if you are successful and those businesses are successful, you get eventually much more money than with your consulting for money job. And then the next stage in this is when you start selling your time and just sell your money for equity and become an investor. But all of those stages come down to one of them, to the most important. How do you sell your consulting? If you learn to sell it for money, time for money, then you will, as your experience grows, as your portfolio grows, you will learn how to add equity into that and how to become an investor if that's the route you choose. But the first thing here is to learn to sell your consulting practice, whatever you call it, be it mentorship, coaching, tracking, something. Here's Alex. He is an entrepreneur and a tracker, and a few years ago he came to me with a goal to sell just a few tracking contracts at a very low price. And you know my approach to stretch the company. This is the same I do to trackers, consultants who want to earn money with that. I stretch. And so we dramatically increased his goals. And here's what happened then.
Hi, my name is Alexander Karabasov, and I work as a growth tracking consultant, and I'm running my own company. We are a custom software development company. So 2 years ago, I went to Eugene Kalinin and said, listen, I want 3 clients at $500 each. That's my goal. But with Evgeny, it doesn't work that way usually. He immediately started pumping up my ambitions, and he suggested aiming at least 20 clients at $2,000 each by the end of the year. I agreed with him. Firstly, I agreed with him and said, okay, let's do it. But deep down, I didn't really agree. I decided to just give it a try. After that, I started making sales attempts. Zhenya provided me with the feedback, and I brought to him my pipeline. I shared all the details about all the deals, and when I was able to make a first sales at $2,000, it happened after 2 months. Then I started to think that maybe Evgeny was right. Maybe it's possible for me to attract 20 clients by the end of the year. As a business consultant, I teach everyone that you need to exponentially grow your business by 2 or 3 times a year. And I had the same question and I always have the same question to myself. Can I personally double my personal income? In growth tracking school, there is a step-by-step methodology adapted for selling consultancy and selling growth tracking. If you ask me what is the main value of this school, I can say that without mentoring in the school, without Evgeny's tutoring, I probably wouldn't have made the sale. That's it.
So, how do you form your offer to sell your tracking services? The offer is actually, it has the same structure, the value proposition structure: problem, solution, value. And if you did your diagnostics, you have the main problem in the business, the main constraint you identified. You can show a framework related to this problem, customer interviews, something from sales, whatever, unit economics, and a hypothesis: what will we do using this framework? And the value here would be if we fix the problem, reach the goal, improve something in the business. This is not a tracking offer. It's a regular consulting project. You have the problem, you have the expertise, the solution, the framework to fix this problem, and the value this will fix it, will improve something. This is just consulting. The tracking offer is different. The tracking offer that allows you to sell at higher prices and create longer relationships is a layered offer. First of all, there is a constraint, the main constraint that you have identified during the diagnostics. And there is a framework that may fix it if it works. But this is hypothesis. And we all know that the first hypothesis will not work. And the second will probably not work. If this is a complex problem, it's not obvious what to do, the several first hypotheses won't work. Only some, 17th will work. And to find this one that will work, you need to go to run sprints and Every week, as new information comes in, as something doesn't work, something new uncovers, you need to refine, review the diagnostics. And this is tracking. This is the right process that allows the client, the founder, the entrepreneur to faster go through those constraints and achieve their goals. So the tracking offer looks like this. First, we have this local problem we found during diagnostics, but during the diagnostics, we showed the client, the founder, that they cannot do this process of diagnosing the business just by themselves, because the main limitation is always in the blind spot. And that's a problem. Then comes the solution. First, we have the framework to fix this and the next problem we see in the strategy. We have this strategy to achieve the big goal, and we have this tracking process with weekly meetings, main constraint, hypotheses, sprints, and so on. And the value of this will not be in fixing some particular specific local problem, but in achieving the big strategic goal of the company and the big goal of the founder, and achieving it faster with more focus and bigger results. And when the founder sees this big goal as the value of working with you, they will be willing to pay you more, because the value for them is big. And that's how you sell. We have this canvas that we explain in the growth tracking school. I usually tell trackers just to print this canvas and keep it before their eyes as they are doing the diagnostics, to figure out every element in this canvas. And when you know when you know enough about every element of this canvas, this helps you create this offer for tracking with a big goal and with the answer to the main question that's in the middle here. Why cannot the client, get to their goals without your help? This creates a lot of leverage for you. First of all, they run to the big ambitious goal they actually want to get to. They are motivated to get there, and they have a strategy they believe in, the strategy that the entrepreneur created by themselves and believes in, and therefore is able to implement, to execute. You focus the founder, the entrepreneur, and their team on the main problem, on the main constraint in the business, on the main limitation on the way to growth, and this actually creates the leverage. Your effort creates bigger results. Continuity. Every time you fix a problem, there's the next one. Every time you can't fix a problem, there's a deeper one. There's always the next step, and this creates longer relationships. And therefore, you create high-ticket, long-term relationships with your clients and bring them to great results. And to do that, you need to know several elements, several processes. You need to know the structure and the process of the business diagnostics. You need the basic frameworks like value propositions, customer interviews, sales unit economics, traction map, adapted to this process of finding and overcoming the limitations. You need the strategy to work. You need to know how to work with the strategy and its execution goals, main constraint, hypotheses, weekly sprints. You need the growth tracking process, how to focus them, how to manage the responsibility, how to control the format and timing of your sessions with the entrepreneur, and you need to sell growth tracking as a service. And that's, believe it or not, is exactly what we teach at the Growth Tracking School. We teach business diagnostics, we teach the growth tracking framework, goals, main constraint, hypotheses, sprint. We teach frameworks to diagnose and overcome the most common problems, the most common constraints like value propositions, customer interviews, segmentation, sales, unit economics, the traction map as a typical strategy to get from an idea to a scalable business. We teach the growth tracking process, and we teach how to sell the growth tracking, how to sell growth tracking as a service. What will you get from this course is, first of all, the methodology, and you will start building your sales pipeline right during the course. Many students start selling tracking or raise their rate during the course or right after the course. But there's no magic pill here. We all start with different starting conditions, with different background, different experience, different amount of time to dedicate to this work, and everyone will get their own results. But it is possible, we have proven it many times, to start selling this and start making money with this during the course. If you are a mentor, coach, consultant, this course will help you create high-ticket long-term practice and create big results for your clients. If you are consulting in a narrow niche, it will help you start working with the whole business at the CEO or the founder level. If you are an investor, accelerator, venture studio, you will improve your deal flow, you will get to better deals, and you will grow your portfolio companies. For the entrepreneur, it's a way to see how other people are doing their businesses, learn from other people's mistakes, and get paid for it. And for a business owner, CEO, top manager, it's a way to grow their businesses faster, help teams within the businesses achieve bigger results. Here are a few of the results of our clients, of our students. Olga from the November 22 batch, she had already she had leads, she has some sort of a course, online course, and she made 4 sales at $5,000 per month per client in the first 2 weeks of the course right away. Pavel, he runs a business in online education, and he made 3 sales right at the start of the course to other businesses, to other entrepreneurs in online education, and 1 more later in the course, until he had no more time available to do this work because he has a business to run. But right now, I know he's doing more of that work. He has more clients because he runs his business more efficiently. Alex, he's an entrepreneur, and he increased his revenue in his business 50% during the 2-month course. Andrew, that's a very specific case. He was selling, in his business, he was selling antifreeze, the liquid for cleaning the windshields in cars. This thing, in winter, this thing doesn't sell quite well in July. So a year before the course in July 2021, he sold for $1,500 above that. But during the course in July 2022, he sold the same thing for $50,000, and then in August for another $100,000. And then he realized this business will not get him to his big, ambitious life goals. He sold this business, and now he runs an accelerator for marketplace sellers. Once again, your results will not be like this. Your results will be somehow different. Your results are your results, but those are the actual results of our actual students. And this course sells for $1,997 US dollars. But if you are listening me online or shortly after, you have a chance to enroll into the course with a 25% discount. Until Sunday, you can enroll into the course for $1,497, 25% discount until this Sunday. And here's the link, growthtracking.net. You can click on it in the chat. You can type it in your browser, or you have a QR code here, growthtracking.net. The course starts on September 28th. The 25% discount is valid until September 24, midnight Pacific time. You can go to growthtracking.net, fill in the form, and pay by card. If you need to pay with a bank transfer, contact us at this email, or there's a contact form on this page. If you have any questions, please ask them right away, right now, or in this contact form, or by emailing us. And growth tracking will help you create high-ticket, long-term relationships with your client and bring them to great results in their businesses. It will allow you to work with a CEO or founder on their level, on the growth of their whole business, learn from your clients, help them grow, provide big results, lots of impact, lots of value for the entrepreneur, for their clients, and for yourself. So please come to our course. See you on the other side. Thank you so much. Here's the link. Here's the QR code. And see you on the course.